Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music, the series where I go over an album hopefully at least once a week, if not more. And this week, today's album is Dreaming Out Loud by OneRepublic. Came out in 2007. It's their first album. The band was formed a couple of years before this, but was working on an album and got sort of dropped by the record company before it came out. So this is the one that they made after they got picked up again. Here's the track listing. So it's got 13 tracks on the original album. And overall, I can say that the album is good. It has an issue where it's sort of a little boring, sounds a lot like sort of generic pop for the time. And some of that's because obviously the big songs like Apologize and Stop and Stare were played a lot at the time and even on for the next probably 5 to 10 years, really right all the way up until probably 2014, 2015. You would just hear them on the radio, and you could still probably hear them on the radio, although they're not played as much now. Um, and really, that sort of like pop, heard it a million times feeling carries through most of the songs on the album, especially this first one, Say All I Need. I was very, well, here, we'll just go on to the next one. So these songs are the ones I added to my playlist. Obviously, Stop and Stare, both versions of Apologize. I was very tempted to add this first song, but it was just a little bit too, there was just not enough interesting about it to add to my playlist. Similar thing with some of these ones, especially I think Come Home, if I remember correctly. And the ones that are sort of more interesting, like Goodbye Apathy, is more like slower, less poppy. Mercy is really poppy, but I haven't heard it before, so it was sort of good enough to be like, because I hadn't heard it before, it was interesting. So the only single released off of this album before the album was released was Apologize. Obviously, that's pretty common for first albums to only have like one single. Um, I do think the remix of Apologize is probably better than this version. They're pretty similar though. It's hard to tell the difference. Um, I think the remix has more like sort of more production quality and value really. My favorite song off the album is probably Tyrant. It's the most rock one out of all of them, and it's really just the most interesting track on the album. But I mean, overall, this album has some good songs on it, but as a whole, right, the big bangers at the top are kind of, you've already heard them, and you don't really want to enjoy them anymore because like you've heard them for a while and a lot. I do suggest Prodigal's pretty good, and Tyrant. I do suggest these two if you're gonna listen to two songs off this album. And then probably Mercy, and then of course Stop and Stare and Apologize. Goodbye Apathy is a little slow, although it is interesting. Someone to Save You, sort of more general, but interesting enough to put on the album. Now, because this is the first album from them that I'm listening to, they obviously occupy the only slot on the sort of rankings of all OneRepublic albums. So I did consider for 2007, this is what I consider the best album that I've heard from 2007. The previous one was Little Voice, and I decided not to change that. I don't think Dreaming Out Loud is better than Little Voice by Sarah Bareilles, or Bareilles, however you say your last name. Mostly just because Little Voice is a lot more unique and interesting. It's got a lot more sort of not pop going on, while OneRepublic Dreaming Out Loud is more it's just pop and it's good, but Little Voice is pop and also other stuff that is also good. So yeah, that one's still keeping the top spot for 2007. Obviously, next week I'm going to go over OneRepublic's next album. I don't remember what it's called. I believe it came out in 2009. Um, I don't remember what the big stuff off of that one was, but we will find out next week. So yeah, stay tuned.